David, I think you can start. Let's go.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our session on using cutting-edge digital solutions to strengthen access to justice with examples from Ukraine. I am David Vaughn, Chief of Party for the USAID New Justice Program here in Kyiv, implemented by Commonics International, one of the organizers of this forum. I am truly honored to be your host for this very exciting and engaging session today. Over the past 20 years, I've been extremely fortunate to lead rule of law reform initiatives around the world, including, I hope, in some of the countries where you are now. I'm particularly pleased to be together with you for this historic first totally digital global forum. We will have an opportunity, a unique opportunity, to collaborate online and find opportunities to build new partnerships that I strongly believe will foster a fairer and more just world. I would like to invite you to use the chat box to make our session more interactive. So please, I'd like to learn where you are, and if you could do so, in the chat box, enter the country where you're logging in from. I'd like to see where our audience is. Please take a moment to do that. While you're doing that, I'd like you to tell a little bit more about myself and about our session today. I'm an American lawyer currently based here in Kyiv, Ukraine, where I also was a university exchange student many years ago. Over my professional legal career, I've had the opportunity to work in more than 25 countries in Europe and Eurasia, Africa, and Latin America. During this session, you will have the opportunity to engage some of the most talented speakers from a variety of backgrounds and perspectives, and learn how to design, implement, and promote programs aimed at improving access to justice using digital solutions. We also look forward to learning from you and your experience today. I see from your chat box responses, we truly do have a global audience, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you to this session once again. And thank you for sharing with us where you're from. If you have any questions or comments, please use the chat box option and send those to us. Questions can be general or addressed to a specific speaker. We'll collect all the comments and questions and provide responses at the end of our session today. So let's get started. Before I give the floor to our distinguished speakers, let me provide you a little bit more context for our session. The USAID funded program that I lead supports the judiciary, parliament, government, the bar, law schools, civil society, and the media in Ukraine in promoting an independent, accountable, transparent, fair, and effective justice system that upholds the rule of law and combats corruption. Today, you will learn innovative approaches for engaging both the public and private sector in strengthening access to justice using digital tools that our project has supported over the years. Our speakers will explain how the Ukrainian judiciary overcame challenges on the way to greater digitalization. They will share with you best practices for advancing online dispute platforms to enhance the court user experience and satisfaction with justice services. You will learn ways for incorporating legal tech innovations into legal education, as well as tips for bringing tech entrepreneurs together with legal professionals to promote innovative solutions for the justice sector. At the end of our session, you will have a holistic picture on how to engage a variety of stakeholders in developing IT solutions that improve access to justice for all. So I'm very pleased now to introduce our first speaker, Yulia Lukasevich, Deputy Head of the Department for Strategic Planning and Court Performance Standards at the High Council of Justice, the body that selects and disciplines judges and supports the independent, fair, transparent administration of justice in courts nationwide. Yulia, who is a lawyer by profession, worked together with KPMG in conducting a business process analysis of the High Council of Justice, a first for any judicial institution or court in Ukraine. She also participated in a series of professional development programs conducted by Ernst & Young with support from USAID. Yulia will share with you the barriers the Ukrainian judiciary faced in introducing digital solutions and highlight how these very initiatives help the High Council of Justice respond to current challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm very pleased now to give the floor to Yulia, please.
Thank you, David. Hi, all. At the very beginning, I would like to tell you about the status of the High Council of Justice, which is a collective, independent, constitutional body of public authority and judicial governance, which functions in Ukraine on a permanent basis. The Council is aimed to guarantee the independence of the judiciary and its functioning on the grounds of responsibility and accountability before the society. It is also guarantees establishing of an honest and highly professional judicial corps in compliance with the provision of the Constitution and the laws of Ukraine, as well as with the professional ethics in the functioning of the judges and prosecutors. Ukraine now is in process of implementation of the Unified Judicial Information and Telecommunication System as a tool that provides an increase of efficiency of activities, workflow automation in a real-time mode, and proper functioning of the courts and judicial institutions. Open environment of the Unified Judicial Information and Telecommunication System inter alia includes e-filing to exchange documentation with the courts and the parties of the case, unified state register of court decisions, which provides access to all court decisions, video conferencing of the court's hearing. This can be done by using specific equipment on the judiciary portal, which allows confidentiality and recording of the hearings. Alternatively, judges, in response to the parties of the case application, can use other telecommunication tools, including Zoom. And the last one, it's a portal of the judiciary where citizens can find all information on court performance. E-court, as a part of the Unified Judicial Information and Telecommunication System, is one of the most important public services that provides a new function to exchange documents with the courts electronically. There are more than 6,000 registered users and 18 piloted courts. The module functionality was updated in accordance with the results of piloting. Recently, the High Council of Justice, together with the State Judicial Administration, approved the concept of building of the Unified Judicial Information and Telecommunication System, and an action plan has been developed in order to ensure the establishment and functioning of this system with a definition of the stages and its formation and implementation for the 2020-2023 period. In 2020, we plan to work on the designing of the system and constructing of its components. The next year, we will pilot the system in the courts, and by the 2023, we expect it is fully implemented. During the quarantine period, and in order to monitor the situation on an ongoing basis, the appellate courts informed the High Council of Justice of the state of justice performance in local and appellate courts. The State Judicial Administration approved the procedure for working with the video conferencing, technical equipment during court hearings in the administrative, civil, and commercial processes involving parties outside the court premises. Parties of the case can access the video conferencing on the portal of the judiciary by using state-owned EasyCon service with e-signature verification, or another way by using ID card. Alternatively, they can use Skype or Zoom telecommunication services as well. Also, due to travel and meeting restriction during pandemic, the High Council of Justice began consideration of submissions to the President of Ukraine on the appointment of judges to the local courts totally remotely. Candidates attending meeting by video conference. Moreover, the High Council of Justice intends to provide an opportunity for participants of the disciplinary proceedings to get acquainted with case files via email or information carrier sending by the applicant with its application. We face the problems with identification in data protection, as well as the need of improving national legislation to advance this process. However, the judiciary and the High Council of Justice is working on speeding up this process in the response to citizens. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Yulia, for your very informative and helpful presentation. Our next speaker is Sergey Suchenko, a judicial administration specialist with the USAID New Justice Program. Sergey manages numerous activities related to court automation and performance evaluation here in Ukraine. Sergey will share with you an innovative tool for online dispute resolution that provides legal information and assistance with preparing documents that can be submitted to court without having to go to court, which is particularly relevant today in the time of social distancing. Sergey, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David, and good morning, everyone. Well, it is morning in Ukraine, and well, I hope that you are all tuned up, you had some coffee, and you're ready to listen very attentively, because this is a truly interesting subject. One of the things that Yulia mentioned during her presentation was that basically the judiciary of Ukraine is now striving to introduce efficiency in its operations as much as possible. However, it is worth noting that currently the judiciary has to handle a very impressive caseload of about 3.5 million cases per year, and the judiciary at the same time is heavily understaffed, which means that there is potential to provide better services to citizens by improving efficiency of court operations, but at the same time, it's also necessary to take a look at the possibility to take the cases out of the system totally. And that's where this idea came in. Basically, it was a result of a international conference conducted 3 years ago in Kiev, Ukraine, where we actually studied the practices used worldwide in the area of online dispute resolution, or ODR, as we refer to it. And after conducting this conference, we actually thought it would be a good idea to try something similar in Ukraine. For that purpose, we explored the models which were available worldwide, and we decided that the best fit in that case would be the model used by the Civil Resolution Tribunal from the province of British Columbia, Canada. And here on the screen, you can actually see the process which is used by the Civil Resolution Tribunal. It is broken into 4 stages. In the first stage, basically the party gets the possibility to orient him or herself in the legal issue that they have. They get information, they get the opportunity to help themselves. In the second stage, the party to the case has the opportunity to negotiate with the other party. Third stage is a facilitated discussion between the parties using the services of a facilitator. And finally, the last stage is adjudication in court in case everything else fails. Next slide, please. So we decided to try to develop a application which would cover so far only the first stage, the self-help, and we call it the Solution Explorer, similar to the way it's called in British Columbia. So, and we were trying to find out which case types would be most appropriate for piloting this system. And the selection criteria we used were as follows. We needed cases with a high volume. We needed cases that could potentially be resolved without going to court, and cases with low complexity. So we came up with 3 case types. It's minor traffic offenses, uncontested divorce, and alimony. Now I know for some of you, the divorce thing would sound a little bit strange because in some countries, the divorce proceeding are pretty complex. At the same time, here in Ukraine, we found actually it came as a little bit of surprise to ourselves that in case the divorce is uncontested, is a pretty straightforward proceeding. Next slide, please. So the approach we took in designing the Solution Explorer is actually a micro business process analysis type of thing. So we started by analyzing the current procedures and the documents which are used in this procedure. We prepared the respective process charts and document templates. And as a result, we came up with targeted process models, which we use in our system. And they are similar to 3 branches, as you can kind of see on the screen. So in terms of project stages, we are now at the stage of development. We have a working prototype of the system, which is getting populated with data right now. And we hope to start piloting the system early June this year. Next slide, please. So here's this slide shows you basically the entry screen to the system. As you can see, you have here case types, which you can select. And let me tell you a little bit how this works actually. So no, please go back to the previous slide. So when you click on one of the case types, the system starts asking you questions, and based on your answers, it will take different routes along the tree branches and navigate you through the process of identifying what your legal issue is and informing you about how you could resolve it. It's important to note that this is not kind of legal counsel as such. This is just provision of legal information in a systemized manner. So what happens is that every time you give an answer to a specific question, you will get some legal information related to the answer you just provided. And at the same time, the system will inform you about the potential routes you may take from this particular stage. And it's up to you, totally up to you to choose which route you will take from there. So this is how the system works. And as a result, the ultimate result of this is the preparation based on the information you were required to input during this kind of problem identification phase. The ultimate result will be the template of the document which you need to submit to either the court or some other state institution to take action according to what you have chosen. So a little bit about the future, despite the fact that we are only now in the development stage, we already have plans for the future which are in the works simultaneously with the development. So we are envisaging extended cooperation with the Anti-Monopoly Committee, which is an institution in Ukraine that handles public procurement disputes. And we plan to introduce the public procurement disputes into that platform. Also, we will be looking at adding new case types to the system, as well as new functionalities such as a user's personal cabinet, communication between parties, facilitation, and mediation. Now, well, we have been working in Ukraine for the last, I guess, 14 years. And the nature of USAID funded programs is that sooner or later they will have to end. And we are conscious of that, and kind of looking to the future, we can see that basically at the time when our program is going to end, we will make this solution available free of charge to all the interested parties, both state institutions and businesses, to take it and to develop it as much as possible, because we believe actually this is the future. And it got a little bit more important because of the COVID-19 issue. But as a matter of fact, I will say that regardless of the pandemic, the ability to resolve the case without ever leaving your home is something you want to have in your country. So we hope, we're very optimistic, and we hope this is going to happen in the near future. And basically, we'll try to do our best to advance it as much as we can with our resources. But finally, we will give it to basically to Ukraine, and Ukraine will have the opportunity to develop it as it believes it should be developed. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Sergey. We've now heard from a judicial institution. We learned how the courts and government are using online platforms to settle disputes. Now we switch to the future of the justice sector. That's working with future lawyers, judges, and prosecutors. That's working with academia. And I'm pleased to give the floor to our penultimate speaker, Professor Tatiana Tsuvina, who teaches law at the University of Yaroslav Mudry, Yaroslav the Wise University, a leading law school in Ukraine. Professor Tsuvina led the development and implementation of a course for law students on legal innovations, together with representatives of the Civil Resolution Tribunal in British Columbia, Canada, as you've learned, the first online court in the world. together also with the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Education and Science, and Kiev Legal Hackers with support from USAID. Professor Tsubina will provide you with the lessons learned in incorporating legal tech into legal education and how to promote a culture of innovation amongst law students by promoting practical, skills-based courses at law schools on developing and utilizing digital solutions. So I'm very pleased to give the floor to Professor Tsubina. Professor?
Thank you, David. Hi, dear colleagues. I'm very glad to be here and have the opportunity to share with you some experience in the field of incorporating legal innovations in legal education. First of all, look through some statistic data. Recent national surveys show that quality of professional knowledge and skills of law schools graduates do not meet the requirements of the legal profession. We know from the Ministry of Justice of Ukraine that the level of qualification of law graduates applying for job positions in the ministry is very low. This was all confirmed with the USAID supported nationwide survey of legal practitioners conducted in 2019, which suggested specific actions required to improve the quality of legal education. Over 80% of practicing lawyers highlighted the need for developing legal research and writing skills, promoting critical and analytical thinking abilities, and enhancing awareness of professional ethics as priorities. All of them mentioned is a challenge for law schools in Ukraine. And one of the main questions nowadays is what law schools need to do to foster modern legal practitioners, which are ready to real life and real legal practice. And the answer to this question is connected with modernizing of legal education. So our university took part in two projects on developing model law schools curricular on legal innovation supported by USAID New Justice Program. The first one was in partnership with the Civil Resolution Tribunal, which is in British Columbia, Canada. It was titled Innovation, Justice and Legal Tech. Staff of Civil Resolution Tribunal was involved in the developing teaching materials, the curriculum of this course, and conducting online seminars for our students. The second project was held with Kiev Legal Hackers, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. Main law schools of Ukraine took part in this project, during which we work out curriculum to the course on legal innovations, which you can see on the screen. The main topics include knowledge on digitalization and law, as well as practical skills on design thinking and developing algorithms. We engaged legal entrepreneurs to share their practical experience and train teachers of law schools on digitalization in law. And now we try to implement such course in our law schools nationwide. Of course, we learned some lessons from these two projects, and now I want to share some of these lessons with you. First of all, you need to build international partnership to get know how to teach such subject as we did with the Civil Resolution Tribunal, and it wasn't very easy task for our law school. It was a truly challenge. Also, you need to engage private sector to train teachers, as we did with the Kiev Legal Hackers, because teachers at law school lack knowledge on the most recent developments in legal tech and may lack practical skills on using technologies, and business representatives can support you with it. The useful thing is to build local ownership to ensure continued support of your initiative. For example, at the beginning, the Ministry of Justice, which initially supported this topic, has changed its priorities. But the ministry staff who was engaged in our project started working on the newly established Ministry of Digital Transformation and now continues to advance this activity. Also, you need to promote your innovative curriculum to administration and students. Everything which is new needs to be promoted, and so do not expect all administration are open to introducing the courses they do not understand. If the discipline is selective, you need to be prepared to promote it to your students. Also, it's useful to include curriculum elements in other educational courses if you can't introduce the full course from the beginning. This will ensure step-by-step continued promotion of the innovation in legal education. So thank you for your attention, and I will be glad to answer your questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Suvina. Our last and certainly not the least speaker today is Dmitry Fedemny, the Ukraine country director for the Hague Institute for Innovation of Law. Dmitry leads several activities aimed at improving cooperation between the justice sector and justice sector officials and tech entrepreneurs to advance digital solutions through conducting broad-based and inclusive hackathons, as well as acceleration programs for startups. His work has resulted in launching sustainable startup companies that have gone on to be recognized by Silicon Valley investors and the international news media alike. Dmitry will share with you key strategies and takeaways for engaging both the public and private sectors in advancing innovative solutions to improve access to justice. Dmitry, the floor is yours.
Hello, David. Thanks a lot. Hello, everybody. Before we start, I really would like to know what kind of audience do we have today, and if we only have lawyers or not. So could you please make a comment? If you're a lawyer or you have a legal background, could you please just type in plus? And if you represent any different profession or you have any different background, please type in what do you do. It's going to be very interesting for us to see the audience and to understand your background. Now, let's start, and let's start with the question how legal tech is different with other industries, because this is a truly global forum with a global audience with different backgrounds. But first of all, this industry is highly regulated, similar to pharmaceutical industry, you can say. It has so many rules on ethics. It has a lot of procedural codes, how you can act and how you shouldn't act with your clients, with your peers, etc. So it is not so easy to work in this industry, especially if you want to innovate in it, right? So the other point is we have entrenched majority, meaning that lawyers have been working for centuries and they don't understand why you need to innovate. Everything was fine during years and years. Why would you do something differently, right? But it also leads to the third point, that if you really do want to innovate and you want to do something differently, you feel like a friendly rebel who want to help the system to change. And it is a lot of fun, I should say. Okay, now we can go to the second slide. The hard thing here is managing expectations of different parties, because those are different. On one side, you have entrepreneurs who really like speed, they like global markets, they like to move fast and not stop by any legal barriers or something else. On the other side, we have a system. It could be judicial system, it could be a parliament, it could be just a government that really needs predictability and reliability. And there are reasons for that. So how do you manage these two interests? One of the best examples I have is a global example before we switch to Ukrainian ones, is from eBay. You probably have heard about eBay, and of course they have a lot of issues with customers, right? And they actually solve 60 million issues per year with their customers. Wow, that's a lot. And they have a specific module that's basically an internal startup that solves those issues. It's called Modria. And the funny thing is, this is Modria, both Modria and eBay is totally private companies, right? And Modria was bought out by a supplier who supplies IT solutions to all US courts. So I think in the future, we're gonna see more and more online dispute resolution in the US and outside of the US. I'm pretty sure about that. So that's an example how you can weigh in both public and private sector interests. But let's move to Ukraine and let's see what kind of cool things do we have here. Okay, I have a few examples here. We're trying to weigh in both public and private sector in different ways. For example, in Ukraine, as well as in a few other countries, we have a special accelerator, a business accelerator for startups who work in legal and justice sphere. It's called Hill Justice Accelerator. That's a program that was run together with USAID and a few other partners in Ukraine for a number of years now. So what do? We're looking for the best entrepreneurs in the sphere. We select them, we train them, we support them throughout their path, and we also support them with grant money because you actually need it to run your experiments. And that is an incredible way how you can put in experts from public sector and try to give them their opinion on startups, and then you have entrepreneurs who can share their approaches with public sector. Or another example, legal hackers. So Kyiv Legal Hackers is a chapter of international community on the intersection of law and technology, which is present in more than 150 cities around the world. So we do a lot of activities. One of the most interesting to me is hackathons. So we already did 3 access to justice hackathons. And it is amazing to see how people from different backgrounds, it could be lawyers, but it also designers, programmers, and I don't know, managers, PR people who work together to solve justice problems. And we also even have judges who participate in those hackathons. Can you imagine that all those people work together to solve different problems of existing people? That's an amazing approach. So what are a few takeaways? In order to innovate, you need a platform to do that. You need a platform where people with different mindsets and different backgrounds can come together and share their experiences. It leads us to the need of co-creation. New innovative things cannot be created by lawyers only. It should be a collaborative approach, as I mentioned before. And last but not least, I think this is truly the most important part, is focus on human side. We now have so many methodologies, legal design, design thinking, customer development, and others who are focusing on the human side of what we're doing and what we're developing. And let's think about us. What do we actually need as humans? We want our justice problems to be resolved, or even better, prevented, right? So let's start from human side first. I believe that we're not only lawyers here in this specific session. So I hope we can make these innovations together. Thank you very much. I would like to answer your questions if there are any. Thanks.
Thank you, Dimitri. Now you've heard from a variety of different speakers, from a variety of different perspectives. We really want to give you an opportunity to ask your questions and comments, and we'll move to that. But I'd like to share with you, since we have a little bit of time, some of the lessons that are related to the presentations that you've just heard in terms of implementing and designing these digital solutions that we have learned over time. One of the first and key lessons that we have learned is that when you begin an initiative like this, that you clearly identify the outcomes, the problems, and the need that you want to address. So clearly identifying that problem first before you begin designing any digital solution. And in the process of developing your solutions, it's very important to conduct user testing and to prioritize addressing the feedback from your potential users. Another critical lesson that we have learned is to use existing solutions whenever possible. You know, we like to say, don't reinvent the wheel. And here in Ukraine, they say, don't reinvent the bicycle. If there's an existing solution that you can use to solve a problem, use it rather than spending time and resources to develop a new one. Another important lesson that we've learned is to plan for scalability. So you may start at with a small project, but you should also at that same time plan to scale that solution up to reach a larger audience or solve larger problems. Another critical important lesson that we have learned is to communicate clearly and regularly with both within your design team and with your user team and with a larger community to understand how your solution will really have an impact over time, and to develop some performance indicators so you know if your solution is being effective or not. And lastly, and this builds on what Dmitry just said, is to engage a broad range of stakeholders, even those you may not even think of at the very beginning. So one of the successes that we have learned, why we've been successful at this, is that we've engaged really a broad range of stakeholders to solve common problems. And these are stakeholders who would not normally meet one another. So having that platform, providing that platform for stakeholders to talk and identify creative solutions, we found to be very helpful. So now it's time to answer your questions and respond to your comments. And I'm pleased to give the floor to Olga Nikolaeva, a legal and judicial specialist on our team, who will facilitate responses to your queries from our speakers. Olga, I give the floor to you.
Thank you, David. Dear participants, thank you for the questions you already posted, and please feel free to post them while we are answering. The first question, I think it's more general, but probably the representative of High Council of Justice can say a bit more. As a preparation to the implementation of the digital solution, has there challenges in terms of digital literacy among the legal community, both the bar and the bench? Who will answer the question, please?
I'll tell you. Thank you for the question. I need to tell that it's a great challenge to implement the system, this unified judicial telecommunication system in courts and adjacent judicial bodies. So we use the help and assistance of the experts from the bar, from the different association. It's all stakeholders is actively taking part in every processes in the piloting project. So I think that every will pay attention to every details and then how to say updated in accordance with this. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we have actually two questions to Professor Tsuvina. The first one is, how did you engage the private sector? Please tell a little bit more about this. And the other question is more sophisticated, and it's mostly about the reflections. Is it that automation would adversely affect the critical and analytical thinking skills of law students? Please, Professor Tsuvina.
Sorry, thank you for your questions. About private sector. First of all, we engaged legal hackers. Ministry of Justice and USAID helped us with this. We asked them to learn our professors to some legal tech skills, and we have summer school with support with USAID, new justice project, where we can to get some knowledge about this sphere and to broaden our knowledge. I mean, professors from different law schools in Ukraine, and so as a result we have this curriculum. As to the business, you see, nowadays we have a lot of firms who which wants to have workers with this knowledge in legal tech. So they want, they can help us to give us some funding for doing these activities with some practitioners in legal tech. So as to the second question, you see nowadays online courts, online dispute resolution is more broadened and broadened. And nowadays we can say that this dispute resolution, online dispute resolution, is a new reality because it's more and more popular. And I think that we can't say that our students and future legal professionals have no work without because of this, but we need to think about what will be the future of legal profession and do some preparations now in order to increase the possibilities of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We also have one question to Dmitry. Dmitry, can you please kindly cite hackathon products that worked and are sustainable up to this time, if there are any? And please tell a little bit about the results of the hackathon. Thank
you. Sure, thanks. So I should say that what the hackathon is, first of all, so everybody can be on the same page, right? So hackathon is a 2-day event where you bring in people with different backgrounds and you give them a specific topic, and you try to facilitate the creation of new solutions, right? Of course, within 2 days, it is really hard to create something meaningful, sustainable, and then gonna last for years. But you also should understand that this is a critical moment where you learn, where you learn by doing, where you actually meet people from completely different setup to help you to shift your mind, to think about problems in a brainstorm way that you usually don't do, right? So apart from just having some products that that are going to be useful in the future, that are going to be sustainable, it is crucial that we are having these platforms that David said. And I think hackathon is a great platform where you can collaborate, and it is very engaging activity. It is very informal activity, right? So you're building a lot of trust and relationship and bonding between people who would otherwise never meet each other. So I think this is the most critical and sustainable thing that you can imagine. But as for concrete startups that are functioning, a lot of them are pivoting, let's say, meaning that during the hackathon, they create and they develop one idea, but within 2 days, you can't test everything. After that, they go to the world, they test their idea, they talk to customers, and they say, okay, now we're probably gonna shift to something else. And they pivot their products to another area, or they try to solve different problem. So it is not like something was created during the hackathon, and now it is a global corporation. I can give you this kind of an example, but there are a few examples of hackathon participants and winners in Ukraine specifically that still work on their problems. I can name in Ukraine, it probably would be like report tax or specific features for open data bot and a few other. So there are companies that are being created at the hackathons. Of course, as in every startup, it's like 99% is dying because it is really hard to sustain it. It is really hard to keep the team together. It is a hard task, but it's but it is an extremely valuable experience. And you have this kind of possibility to participate in hackathon. I extremely advise you to do so. Thanks. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Dmitry, for the answer. I have a question. I think it's more general, like justice sector, but I would like to, the participants would like to know your opinion. Would it be interesting to conduct digital online bar examination? I think I can extend a bit this question and ask whether there are any perspectives for the judicial exam to be online or digital. Thank you for the answer. Who will answer?
Okay, thank you for the question. It's like not our competence to tell about the bar examination, but concerning the judges examination, it's difficult now to imagine how we could implement this, and also it's a competence of the High Qualification Commission of Judges. But maybe I think when as for my opinion, when the unified judicial informational telecommunication system will fully implemented, maybe the next step will be the digitalization in this sphere. Thank you.
And let me add to that. It's been a while since I've taken a bar exam. Over 20 years ago, it was all in paper. But I can tell you about in the United States that this is the trend to move this type of examination online. And I think what's going on now with restrictions and limitations related to the coronavirus, we're seeing the importance of moving a lot of this online, with bar exams having to be delayed because of the in-person nature of them. So I think we'll see more and more of examination in general moving to online platforms. And let me just build on some of the things that Dmitry said as well in terms of sustainable companies or startups that actually developed first during the hackathons. There are two that really come to my mind that have been recognized by the Financial Times and Forbes magazine. The first is Axdraft, and that is a platform that allows people to prepare legal documents in a very simple, straightforward fashion. Now that's actually now going global. And there's also a bot called PatentBot that helps people prepare for patent applications, trademark applications. And that actually is also going global now with customers in the United States and in China. So these are two companies that began with, as Dmitry said, these two-day innovation hackathons that have gone on now to be successful companies. So we're pleased about the success that they have achieved through the hackathon platform that we've done together with Dmitry.
Thank you, Yulia. Thank you, David, for the answers. Dear participants, please, we have a little bit more time. Feel free to ask the questions, but I will use this opportunity, and I would like to ask the participants, whereas the pandemic is a huge challenge to the governments, to the businesses and people around the world, do you see this as an opportunity for your institutions? Do you see the areas where pandemic can like speed up the ideas or shift the approaches? Please reflect a bit about it. Thank you.
Well, if I may start, a good example that comes to my mind is using of video conferencing for conducting judicial sessions. I think it was a struggle for a lot of countries, and including Ukraine. We've been developing the system that would work for a long time. But now, a few weeks ago, all of a sudden, I read in the news that some judges, they took a lead, and they are now using not only a specifically dedicated platforms, but for example, they use Skype or Zoom combined with electronic signature through email to to facilitate online hearings. So I think that's a great example where crisis, it really kind of forced people to go online. And I'm really curious to see how it's gonna evolve in the future after the crisis is gone. Colleagues, maybe you also have some opinions.
I would also like to add to that a little bit. You know, it's actually a great thing that's happening now is that, you know, this crisis is moving people to look for simpler ways to solve complex problems. And well, at the same time, while, you know, it's great that they, of course, have started using tools such as Zoom or Skype, at the same time, they tend to overcomplicate the issue of confirmation of the identity of the person. Because quite frankly, you know, when you appear in court and you present your passport, nobody's really gonna check the integrity of that document and run it through the databases. So quite frankly, you know, I think there is a little bit tendency to overcomplicate. And David just mentioned that, you know, one of the lessons we've learned is that basically if there is a product available, you should just use this product. And that actually entails that you should adapt your procedures to the capacities of that product. So you don't try to invent complicated ways to, for example, for personal identification, you have to use what's available, for example, on Zoom or Skype. And I hope that the understanding of this will grow and we will move towards a simpler world than we have now. To add to that, Ukraine currently is developing a specialized software which actually contains an electronic passport. And I hope that, you know, if people will have this option, they won't need to use electronic digital signatures to sign up in court hearings. They could just present their electronic passport and use it as a way to identify themselves. Thank you.
I would like to add, if possible, regarding the video conferencing for court hearing. Only in April this year, we have approximately 200 meetings that have already been held through the video conferencing. And regarding the e-signature, we use it only for the EasyCon, but when we use Zoom or Skype communication service, verification could be in other way, for example, by ID card of the person.
And if I can, a few words about legal education in this pandemic. It's a new challenge for teachers, for students, because such things as Google Class, Moodle, and so on and so far, we knew only in theory. And now it's a good opportunity to practice with these digital technologies. And of course, it's a new opportunity for mediators to try themselves in ODR, because online mediation wasn't so popular before this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, dear presenters, for their answers. Basically, I don't see any other questions. Maybe any of you want to add something at the end, because we are almost over. Please feel free to use this opportunity to have some concluding words. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for this session. I particularly like the last discussion on how our lives, both personal and work lives, will change due to the pandemic. And you've heard about some of the digital solutions to that. But one of the things we've learned is that people are going back to some analog solutions too, including the telephone. So we have a network of 6 community justice centers around the country that are actually giving legal consultations using the telephone. So technology is being used in many different ways as a result of this crisis. So I want to thank you, participants, for joining this session. I hope you found it interesting and helpful. I'd like to thank our excellent speakers for sharing their invaluable and practical experience. Participants, I hope you learned something that you can apply where you are. And I also want to give special thanks to Valentina Mudryk for helping make this session possible. If any of you have any follow-up questions, want to talk directly to our speakers or to myself, please feel free to use the forum platform in the site or other social media platforms to communicate with us. We look forward to staying in touch with you and sharing our lessons learned and practices. So please stay tuned, stay healthy, and stay connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.